While it may be cold outside, things are getting toasty warm at Global Voice Broadcasting. Heat up your winter nights with the hottest topics, the hottest celebrities, and today's best music. It's why Global Voice Broadcasting is becoming your 24/7 home for the music and talk you want right now. Discover your favorite shows and music anytime at globalvoicebroadcasting.com.
I highly recommend Ms. Hicks. Her books, her CDs are encouraging.
I bought her book, A Hill to Climb. She's a very inspirational speaker.
And I look forward to one day being able to work with her.
Your power lies within you. Let it loose.
Aspiration, inspiration, motivation, edification, determination. These are the keys of life success brought to you by none other than award-winning author, motivational lecturer, business consultant, and much more as she gets you aimed to your purpose. And now, ladies and gentlemen, young and elder, from Hollywood to the entire world, here is your host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, Louise Hicks, along with her co-host, yours truly, Kenan Wesley Mason.
Hello, world. How is everybody today? Welcome, and thank you all for joining us today again for Aim to Purpose, the radio show. I'm your host, Louise Hicks.
And I am your co-host, Kenan Mason, and I want to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone listening and watching Aim to Purpose, the radio show, as we bring you another new edition as we celebrate the new year, bringing you new editions, new thoughts, new ideas, new encouragements, new enlightenment, and everything else that's new. And we do have a new guest for this week, as the topic is rocking 2016 with excellence, success tips from our guest, Jewel Diamond Taylor.
And we are so grateful to have Jewel here today celebrating with us on her birthday. How about that? And we'd like to wish Jewel a happy birthday today and thank her for sharing her birthday with us and our global audience across the world today. And as Ken has mentioned, we have a great show, and we usually share a little bit of excitement we had over the weekend, and wasn't too much going on with me. I had a dynamic baby shower that I attended, and it's always nice to welcome a little bundle of joy to the world, a little girl, and that was awesome. And I want to share with you my slogan. As always, nothing will take my main slogan away of your power lies within you, let it loose. However, this year I decided to have a new little slogan to add to that, which is achieving success. And we want to know we want to achieve rock solid success 2016, and that's the theme for this year. And the slogan is set your goals, GOALS, and let's go 2016. So let's get ready to rock in the new year, and I want you to always believe. I shared this last week for those of you who are tuning in this week and didn't get a chance to tune in last week. You know, all of our shows are always archived on YouTube. We want you to believe. And if you believe in you, and I know we're going to talk about this because I know Jewel is very, very inspirational on having the audience, is that she is a dynamic keynote speaker, among other things, and we'll read her bio and you'll find out all the wonderful things about her. And we want you to achieve success. So what we're going to do, if Ken has something to add, we're going to allow Ken to chime in and say whatever it is he did over the weekend and what he wants to share with you.
Well, I attended the same baby shower, which is always nice. It's a family affair. And I just also want to thank all of the listeners for listening in, and thank all the new listeners and viewers that are viewing in today. Tell everyone that you know about Aim to Purpose, the radio show, where we do anything and everything in our energetic power to bring you the best in radio here on the internet. And for all of you that want to call in anywhere around the world, 1-323-522-5482. And so from there, we're going to go ahead and take our first break.
Yeah, we'll take a break, and then we're going to come back, and we'll introduce you to our special guest, Jewel Diamond Taylor.
Aim to Purpose, the radio show. Don't you go nowhere. Hello, world! It's a new year, which means new and live editions of Aim to Purpose, the radio show. We'll be sharing new ideas with new guests from around the world, revealing new truths with every new topic presented to you, the A2P universe. So tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here at Global Voice Broadcasting at gvbstudios.com/show/A2P. You can also check out all of our archive shows on YouTube by typing in Aim to Purpose Radio. A special thank you to all the loyal viewers that have been with us from the beginning, and a big welcome and thank you to all the new viewers plugging into the A2P universe. Your power lies within you, so let it loose. Once again, this is Ken and Wesley Mason, co-host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show.
Okay, we're back after that eloquently said commercial break from my son and my co-host, Ken and Wesley Mason. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and introduce our special guest today. And we're excited about having Jewel on the show.
Yes, Jewel Diamond Taylor is a recognized elder, leader, and voice in the faith and personal enrichment movement. Taylor is a popular conference and retreat speaker, an emotional wellness educator, a women's life coach, aka the Self-Esteem Dr, who inspires others to stand tall seeking God's divine light. Her insights and heart unlocks their greatness, passion, faith, resiliency, and inner strength to endure and excel in life. As the encouragement whisperer, Taylor is a multifaceted gem of a speaker who shares her expertise, life experiences, success insights, wisdom, wit, faith, stories, and strategies to inspire people of all ages around the world. Jewel's books, websites, and personal appearances to speak positively influences others to transform their low self-esteem into confidence, procrastination into action, goals into reality, setbacks into resiliency, emotional pain into wellness, and fears into faith. Let's give an Aim to Purpose warm welcome to our special Aim to Purpose radio show, Miss Jewel Diamond Taylor.
Hello,
Thank you,
Jewel.
thank you, thank you. Thank you so much.
How are you? And thank you for
I'm
joining
glad
us
to be
today.
on your platform.
Thank you. We're glad to have you. And I want to share just a little bit more about Jewel. I had the pleasure of attending one of her retreats. I think it was in October, and she is amazing. I learned a lot from her, and I'm just excited to have her here, to have you here, Jewel. And also, she was a keynote speaker at an event I was in, also a speaker at on December the 5th. In Pasadena, California, the Black Business Women Rock. And it was an amazing event, and she was amazing at that event as well. So I'm just excited to have this amazing, dynamic woman join us today. And happy birthday again.
Thank you. As they say, it takes one to know one. Thank you so much, Louise.
You're welcome. So we're going to just jump right in it because I had the opportunity to read your book. And I have two of her books here, by the way. One is Success Gems. I haven't had an opportunity to read that one yet. But I read the other one, A Message of Hope and Encouragement. Here's her book here. And I would encourage everyone to get this book and read it because this book truly is an inspiration. And I enjoyed it and I want to talk about it. But first, we heard your amazing, eloquent bio, but I just want to find out. I know you quit your corporate job and you jumped out here in the motivational speaking world, and you've been very successful in it. So what really inspired you to do this, Jewel?
Well, once you really discover what your core values are, what your passion is, it takes a lot of courage to just move into that. And I really discovered that was right underneath my skin was the ability to teach, and to teach not in a traditional setting of a classroom, but to be on the world stage. And I love connecting with people. I love inspiring people. And I was already doing that on a very small scale. And as I began to hunger for personal development experiences, I saw that there was a void. I didn't see any women doing it, and I didn't see any people of color doing it. This was in the mid-'80s. And so when I witnessed people like Jim Rohn on stage, and I saw the impact they had on their audiences and even on myself, I mean, it was mind-blowing to hear the things that I was hearing that were not typically taught in school or even at the kitchen table in your home, or even when I was in college. These things about life, it just triggered something to me. It was an aha, that is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I set out a plan. I took my leap of faith, as you said. It's been an interesting, rewarding, scary, exciting, exhilarating, profitable, challenging journey, and I wouldn't trade anything for it.
I know you wouldn't, and we talked about at your retreat, a lot of the topic was about resiliency, and I know that I love that retreat, and I just those were two of the most amazing days of my life. And like I said, I just learned so much from you, and I can see what you just said, why you stepped out on that leap of faith and did what you do, because you have so much to offer, and you're very giving, you're very genuine and authentic, and I saw that at the retreat. And that's what really draws people to people like yourself, speakers like yourself, and because you are authentic, and that makes such a difference. And you talk about in your book, it was really interesting, on page 14, you talk about how people can drain that energy because you have so much energy, and I like your terminology because you say energy vampires. Tell us a little bit about those energy vampires and how they suck your blood.
I'm a very visual person, and I love metaphors and symbols, and I think that it really helps you to teach when you can give people a symbol or a metaphor or a picture. They can use their imagination it makes the learning much easier when you can paint a picture. So I used to always think about how vampires just get a hold of you and they just suck the blood out of you. And there are people that can suck the joy and the faith out of you. You have to be very careful of those people. I also use the symbol of a vacuum cleaner. Just comes along, just sucks out all the air and the dirt. And so, I try to find little witty and humorous ways so that people can remember it, and then they can say, there's the vacuum cleaner. Oh, there's the energy vampire. And they remember what damage can be done if they allow people into their circle, their inner circle, if they allow people to breathe, what I call breathing on your baby. I did a message years ago, and I would call it, don't let people breathe on your baby. And again, I was using the metaphor, being a wife and a mother. I can remember having, my babies were young, and I came from an old school. You didn't take your children outdoors. You didn't let people in the house while they were still young, because you didn't want them breathing germs, and you wanted to protect your child. And we see young people today now, as soon as they have that baby, they're out. And I'm like, no.
They are. You are so right, Jewel, about that, because I grew up with the same type of wisdom you have. I grew up in Louisiana, of course, and I tell everybody, it was so funny because at the event in December, I was telling them, I just got my red, white, and blue card because I'll be 65 on March 4th. And I grew up with that same type of environment where you wouldn't dare let anybody, you weren't even supposed to do anything until after your 6 weeks checkup, much, let alone letting people breathe on your baby.
And it's the same thing with goals. We get ideas and we get a vision and we get this great excitement, and then you run out and you tell people, and that'll kill it right there, because somebody's going to say, why are you doing that? And it's not going to work out. And they kill your dream.
Yes,
so
they will.
It's very important for people to guard. The Bible says guard your heart.
Yes,
in
it does.
In our heart resides our ideas, but also in our heart resides our fears.
Yes.
And our sense of worth. And so we have to really protect. If you say you're going to write a book, don't tell everybody you're going to write a book. If you're going to go on a diet and you're going to change your lifestyle, don't tell everybody yet.
That's right.
Wait till you really are really grounded and you're really confident.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yes,
if you're gonna leave a toxic relationship, don't tell everybody.
You're right about that. You just don't.
Yeah.
They'll do everything to try to get you to stay.
Yeah.
Yes. Or if you're in a wonderful relationship, you don't tell everybody yet. Wait till it's pretty solid, because people will begin to judge and put in their 2 cents, and that should be between you and your loved one. So I love that metaphor of don't let everybody breathe on your baby, because it is young. It hasn't got its legs yet. You may be wanting to start a business, or you're about to travel, or go back to college in your 60s, and someone may say, well, why are you going back to college now? It's too late.
I know.
So,
start that judgmental behavior. And I know we're going to talk about those tips, but we're going to talk about the 10 tips probably after our second break, because we want to talk a little bit more about the energy and telling people, because you're right, it does say in the Bible about you don't share your dreams, because people can steal your joy and your dream, and I want to talk a little bit about that too. But and with social media, that's something I'd just like to get your take on that. We see a lot of negatives, we see a lot of positives on social media, but some people use social media in such a negative way until you wonder, how do they plan to become successful when they are not really utilizing it in a way to help them to get successful?
And that is true, but all you can do is just stay in your lane and make sure you're using it, you're maximizing it, and to know that people will do that. And I discern, and I let people off my list, but I only use it to promote what I'm doing. I do share a picture sometimes of my family, but for the most part, I'm using it to promote.
Right.
And so I know that there's going to be a mixed bag of different types of information coming down my stream there, and I just pass over it. I expect that. It's going to be a part of it. But the thing is, once you are very consistent in how you brand yourself, you will attract people. I attracted you into my life because you and I share the same core values. You and I share the same passion. So those are the positives that come out of it. If you're consistent in the message you put out into the world, your vibe will attract your tribe. And so
I like that. Your vibe will attract your tribe.
Your tribe. Yes. And so, that's one of the 10 steps I'm going to talk about, is being consistent in what you're putting out in the world, because that's what creates your brand.
That is so true. Yeah. When we get to those tips, that's going to be nice. And something else in the book you talked about, joy and happiness, because I think that's really important, because a lot of us do confuse the joy with the happiness, and you talked about that. So share that too.
Yeah, I'm really big on words and understanding the root and the meaning and the usage of words. In fact, if you look at the word spell, when we spell our words, we cast a spell with the words that we use. We can cast a spell over ourselves and become very depressed with the words that we're using, saying that we're broke, and you cast a spell of lack and poverty. So words have power.
Yep.
And so I understand that when you look at the word happiness, it is rooted in the word happening. So what I was saying in the book, Louise, is that a lot of people are only happy when something is happening. Okay, I'm at the concert. Oh, I just got engaged. Oh, I just lost weight. Oh, I just got a promotion. And now they're happy because something is happening.
Right.
So the thing is, in order for people to really be mature and to be content and to live a life of fulfillment is to know that when something's not happening, can you still have joy?
Right.
When you didn't get the promotion, if you are still single and you really want to be in a relationship, can you still have joy even though it's not happening yet? Can you still have joy even though you haven't graduated yet? Can you still have joy even though you're not, in the career you want? Joy is based on something that is generated from the inside. It is internal. Happiness is external. That means something on the outside has got to be triggering me.
Yes.
So that's the difference. Joy is on the inside. And even the Word of God says, count it all joy. And I used to think, why would the Lord tell me to count it all joy when I'm sad or something is not happening? It's because you are counting on the joy of the strength of how the Lord is keeping you and sustaining you.
That's right.
And you're counting your blessings in spite of it all. That's an internal awareness. You're connecting with the source of God. But when you want things to be happening all the time, I remember when I was much younger, I dreaded the weekends if I didn't have somewhere to go or I didn't get an invitation. I thought I was supposed to always be doing something.
Right. I know the
and
feeling.
Now, I love it. I'm like, I got some quiet time.
I know.
Feel good. But when
Believe
you're young, you want things to be popping and cracking and going and doing, and you feel like you got to be in the in crowd and on the scene and just doing stuff. And the minute it's quiet, you think nobody likes him anymore. I'm not in the in crowd. So the thing is, joy is something that is internal, that you have a peace that even though things are not right where you want them to be, you still are grateful. You still have joy. You still are content.
And that makes so much sense the way you describe the two, so that it will help people to better understand, because I think it is confusing, those words. And like you say, the words you speak, I recall an incident when I was in college and I was working part-time, and I went to the bank to deposit some money, and it was this lady behind me. I was about 19, I guess, and I was telling her how broke I was, and she really educated me. She told me, she said, baby, she says, stop saying that you're broke. She said, don't even use that word. She said, don't you know you become what you speak? And I looked at her. She might have been in her 50s or 60s at the time. And, when you're 19, you think everybody is old, of course. So I really carried that with me. She said, well, just say it's not in my budget. And I have always carried that with me to this day. And I don't ever say I'm broke. I just say, it's just not in my budget right now. And she really helped me.
Yeah, I love that. And I teach in my sessions to say, my money is circulating.
That's a good way to put it, too. It's circulating. Absolutely.
Because money is energy. People don't understand. Money is a circulating energy, just like any other thing on the planet. So whenever you give money away, it's going to come back to you in a certain manner. That's like a law. It's the law of circulation.
Exactly. If our blood is not circulating, we die.
That's right.
If you're just holding on to your money and being selfish and holding on to it and living with fear, it can't grow.
Right.
You have to have trust. You have to have a plan. You have to have a joy. You have to have gratitude attached to it, that when you lovingly release it, it's coming back. And it's not going to come back from the person you gave it to. It's going to come back from another source.
Right.
And it's going to come back multiplied.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
I totally agree with that, money is, it's energy, and it's got to circulate. And we have to learn a language of success. So that lady that was teaching you, that was an elder that was teaching you, that's a biblical thing right there. Let the poor say you are rich, and let the sick say you are well. So we're taught practical things to watch out what you talk about, because you do have the power to create. And in fact, if you look at the first book, it says, in the beginning was the Word.
Right.
So in the beginning of us creating what we want in 2016, we've got to speak our word. What is it that you want to create this year? What is your intention? And so in the beginning of you getting the health you want, the relationship you want, the business you want, you've got to speak a word. And what is your word? And that word has got to be spoken with power, and spoken with clarity, and spoken with gratitude, and spoken with expectation. And so these are the type of things that I love to teach people, is to give them the tools and the language so they can create what they want to create.
That's right. And language is so important. No matter what language you speak, the intention or the vibration of what you speak is what matters and what the universe will gravitate towards. So
Exactly.
having the most people have the "I'll see it to believe it" syndrome versus the total opposite. You have to believe something or have a belief in something first and feel it and know it and know that you will have it in its due course of time. If you believe it and have that joy in it that much.
We're all part of the same tribe. We're all
Right.
speaking the same language.
Yes.
You know, it's no accident that we're having this conversation.
Right.
Because we're of like mind. And, you know, all three of us could say the same thing in a different way
Right.
and mean the same thing, but people are going to respond to different how you present it.
Mm-hmm.
The story you put behind it, the example you put behind it, the energy you put behind it. But these are principles that have nothing to do with gender or age
That's
or
right.
race or income. And this is what I get excited about, is putting these tools in people's hands and, you know, giving them the freedom and giving them the choice to use them or don't use them. But I cannot hold on to this information that I've been so blessed to receive and to implement into my life and see the impact that I've had on my life as well as on other people's lives. Because it's exciting to me that these are the basic things that we should be taught when we're really, really young.
Right.
I was
Really
gonna
young.
I was gonna get to that because you mentioned how you saw Jim Rohn back in the 80s, and I saw Les Brown for the first time back in the late 80s, early 90s, but I didn't even really realize what they were talking about until much later in life, because these type of thought processes aren't taught in school. I wish I was taught this stuff when I was in elementary or junior high or even high school.
Yes.
You know, I mean, these are basic, fundamental, universal principles.
Yeah, they are. And it's interesting that Ken would say that, Jewel, because I wished I had known a lot of things, but everything has its timing. Like the Bible said, it has its timing, because with Ken being my son, a lot of things I've learned from him.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
I mean, it's just a beautiful thing that you are doing this together.
I know.
It's just a beautiful thing that you could do this together. My son that has departed, he and I were just about to start doing this, and I'm so blessed that I have some footage of us being taped live when we did a radio program together, and I was encouraging him to start his own radio show, but he and I were very like-minded, and so when I heard that you and your son were doing this together, it just brought such a joy to my heart that even though I wasn't able to actually do it, I can see another mother and son, you know, teaming up together, and you both teach each other, and you both bring a perspective, and you bring a male and a female, a mother and a son, and there's so many different layers there.
Oh, absolutely.
That people could benefit from. So congratulations on that. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Round of applause for that one.
Yeah, round of applause for that one. And what we're going to do, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to get into those success tips, because we know you got something to give us.
I sure do.
Okay, so we'll take a break right quick.
Yes, Jewel Diamond Taylor is our guest. It is Aim to Purpose, the radio show. Don't you go nowhere. This edition of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, is brought to you by L. Hicks Consulting Services. When you want the best in business coaching, life coaching, or perhaps your organization, business, or company is in need of a dynamic speaker for an upcoming workshop or seminar, contact Louise Hicks for L. Hicks Consulting Services at 1-562-310-1495. From anywhere around the world, that's 1-562-310-1495. For more information about Louise Hicks and her consulting services, visit her website at www.louisehicks.biz. Again, that's www.louisehicks.biz. Or call 1-562-310-1495. L. Hicks Consulting Services, where professionalism is top priority.
Hello, world, again. We are back, and we are having a conversation with our most amazing, dynamic guest, Miss Jewel Diamond Taylor. And we're talking today about rocking 2016 with excellence, success tips from Jewel Diamond Taylor. And we're going to get into some of those success tips of how over these past 30 years, and we're going to talk about her upcoming events celebrating those 30 years, because I spent my 32 years in Los Angeles County. I was very successful there, had a corporate job within the government, and I retired, and I found out this was my true calling and my passion. Didn't realize that earlier, but everybody has their timing to accelerate into whatever their gifts and talents are, and whatever God has chosen for their path and their mission. So now we're going to talk about those tips. So why don't we start with tip number one, Jewel? What give us your first success tip? Hello? Jewel?
I was saying none of them are in order of importance, but they are very important. Each of them, we could talk about all of them for hours, but I'm going to very briefly go through the 10. And the first is clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Getting very clear about what it is that you want to do. So many people that I coach, Ken and Louise, seek my coaching because they don't have clarity. They're trying to do too many things. They're confused. They're not confident. They listen to too many other people. They're people pleasers. They don't trust their talents. They haven't developed them, so they're not clear. When you get really clear, it's amazing. It just takes you from 0 to 100, but it takes time to sit down and say, now clearly, what is it that I want to achieve? Is it in my lifetime, this year, this month, today? You have to break it down, and I think that's what makes people more empowered when they are absolutely clear, because when you're clear, you can set boundaries, and people cannot take advantage of your time, of your resources, because you are very clear. You have a clear intention of what it is that you want to accomplish.
And that's so important.
The second thing is core values. We need to know what our core values are, and sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes making mistakes. It takes a lot of reflection. This is one reason why I do several retreats throughout the year for women, because sometimes we need to step away from the world and unplug and find out what's really important to me right now in this stage of my life. I'm in a different season. I'm in a different place. My values have changed. My relationships have changed. My body has changed. The world has changed. What are my core values? And people may say, well, what is the core value? For some people, their core value is family or community or honesty or recreation or nurturing or being with people who are reliable or being with people who are nurturing. Maybe wealth is a core value for you. Maybe religion is a core value. Maybe politics is a core value. Maybe children, educating children is a core value, or the homeless, or the elders. Finding out what really is you value. Do you value your privacy? Do you value family? Do you value your health? Do you value your culture? Once you can identify your core values, it really does help with your clarity. Number 3 is courage. Even though I talk a lot about faith, what I have come to find out is that faith is when I am depending on God to step in and do things for me. But courage is when I count on myself. Courage is when I roll up my sleeves and I get in the fight. Courage is when I am able to step out of my comfort zone and do the things that are risky, do the things that people may not agree, do the things that used to frighten me. It takes great courage to quit your job or to leave an abusive relationship. It takes courage to tell a restaurant, you know what, I want my money back. I got bad service. It takes courage to say, you know what, I realize now that my life is out of control and I need help. It takes courage. Okay, it takes courage to go back to college. It takes courage to go
Right.
take your driver's test.
Right.
It takes courage to deal with IRS. It takes courage to deal with the bill collector.
Right.
So that's the third one. 4 is character. Character is huge. If I had a trail of mistreating people, of not having integrity over my 30 years, I would not celebrate 30 years. I'd be afraid of people showing up and pulling out all of my dirty laundry. But I can gladly celebrate 30 years this Saturday because I believe my character speaks loud and says that I'm a person of consistency, a person of that they could trust, a person who has, you mentioned when you introduced me, who is authentic. Those are my core values.
Yes, they are.
And when you're consistent in your core value and you have character, people can trust you. I'm always amazed. I just spoke at a church last night, and they have me every January. And sometimes I'm saying, why do you keep asking me every January? And I would say 80% of my speaking engagements are return speaking engagements. And I believe it's because of character. Because I always ask them, who did you have in the past? And what did you not like about that speaker? Or they'll say things like, oh, we told them they could only speak for an hour and they spoke for an hour and a half, or they were late, or they asked for too much money, or they got drunk. I mean, I hear all these horror stories, and they teach me the importance of character, because good news travels fast, but bad news travels faster.
Faster, definitely.
It travels faster. Okay, so it's important that, if you're going to rock it in 2016, make sure that you're working on your clarity, your core values, your courage, and your character. And number 5 is to cultivate your skills. See, I don't do hair. I could not represent you in court. I'm not the best chef. I have cultivated my skills. I'm constantly working on them. I know what my strengths are, and I work on them, and I stay in my lane.
Right.
And I never feel like I've ever arrived. When you said to me you wanted me to come up with 10 points, I just came up with these 10 points while you had me on hold preparing for the radio station program. And the reason I could do that is because I've cultivated my skills. You have to know how to be on point.
Right.
You got to be quick. You got to know how to respond. You got to be quick. And if you're doing the work, if you're studying, if you're staying in your lane and you're sharpening your axe, you can respond, to be on demand.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say if you want to rock it this year, find out what your skills are, what your strengths are, what your passion is, and sharpen it, cultivate it, nurture it, study, practice, get out there and cultivate it. Number 6, oh my God, this is so important. Number 6 is connections. The only reason you were able to reach out to me, Louise and Ken, is because you created a relationship with me. There's a connection.
That's right.
That's right.
And it's so important to network. It's so important to remember names. It is so important to follow up when somebody gives you a business card. It's so important to network. It is so important to create win-win relationships. It is so important to get out of your comfort zone. I'm basically very introverted. I could be very happy at home every day. I love it.
Yeah.
But nothing's going to happen.
Right.
If I stay at home.
Right.
I have to get out, and I got to meet people. I got to go to social engagements. I have to stay connected.
Yeah.
And I can't just connect with people when I want something, and I can't just connect with somebody once in a while. I made a phone call today to a woman in New York who lives by herself, dealing with a lot of health challenges. I met her almost 30 years ago at a conference, and I've maintained a relationship with her over the years. And she was telling me of her health problems and how overwhelmed she is. And she said, Jewel, I've got nieces and nephews that live right down the street, don't even check on me. But you are always calling and checking on me. Because one of my core values is valuing people, making connections that last. Most of my speaking engagements, I have developed friendships with the people who invited me, or the person that was my host, or the person that was my driver, or the person who was the event manager, because I that's something that I do, and it just comes very natural to me. And it amazes me how people take other people for granted, or they just think because they're good at something, it's just going to automatically show up at their front door. This is a people skill that is very critical if you're going to rock it in 2016.
That's right.
Number 7 is consistency. When people start off every January saying, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to save some money, I'm going to save money, I'm going to become a vegetarian, I'm going to spend more time with my family, I'm going to go back to school, what happens is February. What happens is March.
Right.
And people fall off the wagon, and they are not consistent.
And it happens every single year.
Yep, every year. And so I remember my husband and I went to one of our favorite restaurants, and they opened up a new one, and we went. We were all excited, and I remember we went in January because both of our birthdays are this week, and I remember we went in January, and the place was just buzzing. It was crowded. It was just people all out the door. And because we're both self-employed and both entrepreneurs, we love talking to other business people.
Right.
So we started talking to the business owner and saying, thank you so much for having the restaurant here. How's it going? How did, tell us about some of the things you had to overcome to get it. And he talked about the real estate and how costly it was and all the things he had to do, all the hurdles he had to overcome to get this restaurant. And so I said, well, tell me something, do you believe this is going to really be a lasting location? You think it's going to be good? He said, well, it's January right now. And he said, people are making promises and going on diets. And he says, it's kind of quiet here today. He said, but that's because they made some resolutions. He said, but by February and March, this place will be buzzing with people because they'll be off their diet.
Right.
Because that's always what happens.
Yeah. So I would say to your listeners, if you're going to rock it in 2016, don't bite off more than you can chew. Have the character to do what you say you're going to do. Cultivate your skills. Get the right connections. Have the courage to do what you say you want to do. Be clear about it and be in alignment with your core values and be consistent with it. And, like when somebody says to me, I want to lose 100 pounds, that's too much.
Yeah.
Say that, you know what, my intention is to lose 2 pounds a week. Well, then you're setting yourself up to win.
Right. Because you're getting clarity
right.
from that. You are clarifying what it is you want to do. And you, like they used to say, you bite off more than you can chew.
So you want to set yourself up to win, and you do that, you can be more consistent if you're doing things that are within your reach and within your capacity and within your intention. The 8th step is make a contribution to someone or somewhere. We belong to humanity. We belong to Mother Earth. We belong to a city. We belong to a family. We belong to a church. We belong to a school. We belong to a sorority. We belong somewhere. And it's very important that we make a contribution, that we leave our footprint, that we leave a legacy, that we are not just always about self. What are we doing for others? One of my core values is compassion. I often say that's my religion. My religion is compassion.
I love it.
That's the name of that's my religion. So my thing is, where can I make a contribution? And so mine is working with women that are just depressed, that are just in abusive situations, that feel alone, that are grieving. Also, making a contribution in my church. There's several organizations that I don't charge because I know that they have a higher calling, and I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the solution.
Right.
And I think that's your how you pay rent just to live on earth. You gotta give. You gotta make a contribution.
That's so vital.
Yeah.
Service and giving, it's vital.
Yeah, I really believe in that. And number 9 is, we talked about this earlier, is to be aware and to accept the fact that you will have critics. Everything is with a C. That's how my mind works. Yeah, clarity, core values, courage, character, cultivate, connections, consistency, contribute, and critics. Know that the critics will be there, and they serve a purpose. In my book, Success Gems, I believe you said you have it, Louise.
Yeah, I have it.
I have some African proverbs, African sayings.
I've read
one
some
of them. Is and one of those African sayings is that around every flower are insects. Around every flower are insects. So insects have a purpose.
Right.
And
they do.
flowers, and flowers don't stay in the ground and say, I'm not coming out until the insects are gone. They bloom.
That's right.
And they bloom. And they don't say, this is not fair. The insects are crawling all over me. And so we're supposed to bloom, and we can't say, I'm not going to do it until everybody loves me or until it's sunshiny every day.
Right.
There will be insects. They have a purpose. And I have learned that the people that have criticized me, is there a grain of truth in what they're saying? Can I learn something from what they're saying? I
Mm-hmm.
may not like their tone. I may not
Mm-hmm.
like their delivery. I might not like their timing. But let me be still a minute. Let me see. Is there any grain of truth to what they're saying? And if there's not, can I learn to be resilient? Can I get tough-skinned? Can I realize that I'm not going to just crawl back into the soil because somebody doesn't like me? That's why courage is so important, because if you're waiting for everybody to green light you, you will never rock it in 2016.
No, you won't.
That's right. Waiting
So-
for other people's approval.
Yeah, waiting for other people's approval is it's really nothing but a form of fear and making excuses. And if you're going to rock it in this year, you have to just toughen up and realize that there's a purpose, because it helps you get more and more clear and more grounded in what you're doing. Because you just cannot be successful. You cannot stand out. You cannot shine if you think that you're not going to be a target.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just it's unrealistic.
Because
It's just
there's
unrealistic.
a lot of you got that jealousy factor, and you got the hate
Mm-hmm.
factor, and we have to know how to deal with it. And I like what you said. A lot of people do lack the confidence and the courage to deal with it, and it keeps them limited, and they don't utilize their God-given gifts and talents because of that.
Well, you see, this is why I'm tagged the Self-Esteem Doctor, because what I realized is when I first started 30 years ago, I was more of a rah, you can do it, name it and claim it, go for your goals. And then I realized there's no point in me telling people to go for their goals if they lack confidence, if they have no
Right.
self-esteem, if they are mired in their shame of their past, if they are so wounded because of their childhood, or because the marriage didn't last, or because they don't like their body image. So I realized I had to start from the foundation of worthiness, confidence, courage, changing your perception of how you see yourself, how you even see your family, how you even see your childhood. If you can change your perception, then you can go for it. But if you feel like, if you're walking around like a victim, if you're walking around waiting for everybody to love you and greenlight you, if you're walking around thinking that I'm too young, or I'm too old, or I'm too dark, or I'm too loud, or I don't have enough money, or I'm not the right size, or I'm not the right pedigree, if all of that chatter is going on in your mind, I could tell you how to set your goals all day long. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
we have to change our perception, and this is why one of my favorite scriptures is from Romans. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Oh, I love
you
that
have
one.
to change your thinking.
Absolutely.
You have to change your thinking. If you don't change your thinking, there's no point, because, I love this saying, don't believe everything you hear yourself saying. If I believed everything I heard myself saying, I wouldn't do a darn thing.
I know.
Right.
Okay, I have to know how to be. This is the purpose of meditation. This is the purpose of reflection. This is the purpose of retreats. This is the purpose of fasting. This is the purpose of having your own silent serenity times, is so that you could filter out all of the, not only are there critics on the outside, but there's critics on the inside. We are all
yes.
critical of ourselves. I don't like to hear my audio messages. I don't like to look at my pictures. I'm just being transparent, because the first thing I'll say, look. And so I know that about me, and I'm working on it.
Yes.
I'm working on it, but I this is part of our human nature, until we just get wiser and more confident and more conscious of what we're saying, what we're doing, what we're eating, the chatter that we allow in our mind. Becoming very conscious means getting rid of that surface stuff, that surface criticism, and getting down to that voice of self-worth, the voice of, self-affirmation, the voice that says, I am a child of God, and I am worthy, and I can do this, and I can make it. And so it takes a while to kind of get down there to that voice.
It does.
So number 10 is cooking, because I had to have a C. So
Right. Let's see.
So number 10 is about, our food, our health,
Yes.
the things that
Vital.
we need to be very, very careful of, because I'm celebrating my 65th birthday today, and I'm in reasonably good health. I've only had one surgery.
Uh-huh.
I'm drug-free, alcohol-free. I pretty much have very positive, optimistic thoughts. I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not a clean eater yet, but I'm not an overeater, and food does not excite me to the point where it controls me. I enjoy food, but it doesn't control me. Health is so important, and I want to have a quality of life. So that goes back to my core values. Health is one of my core values. I want to look good. I want to feel good.
Yes.
And so if somebody gives me a compliment or if I'm able to endure something or get through something, I can pat myself on the back and say, well, Jewel, that's because you're taking care of yourself. You're making better choices. You're getting, I make sure I get my rest. I make sure that I drink water. I make sure that I get outdoors. I make sure that I have times of fun and music, and I do things that are healthy for me. I make sure that, if I do love wine, but I don't overdo it. I have some every once in a while to put me to sleep, and I'm learning, to reduce the sugar intake because it's just not healthy.
It's not. We have to do that.
I don't eat fried foods. I don't eat fried foods. I haven't eaten fried foods in 25 years. I don't eat anything fried. I take lots of supplements. Lots and lots of, someone was telling me today about a supplement for my eyes, and she said, well, it's a little expensive. I said, I don't care.
I know
I'm
that's
worth
right.
It.
Anything
I'm
for your
worth
health.
it, and I'm going to go get it.
That's
right. I mean, it's more expensive to be in the hospital.
Yeah.
It sure is.
That's expensive.
It's very expensive to be in the hospital, and your health is, you're ruining your health. And I'm with you on that because we're the same age then. Because I'll be 65 on March 4th, and I'm not on any medications or anything because we take care of ourselves, and that's important.
Exactly. So, I think these 10, and I'm glad that you asked me to think of 10 because I think these are very vital for anyone that wants to rock it, as you said, in 2016.
Rock it, that's right.
And I think that if they could just focus, because I know when I do my coaching, I had a client last week, and she said, what do you mean core values? And then she said, I don't even know what mine are. I said, well, that's where we got to start. We got to figure out what's important to us.
Right.
And as I talked with her, she realized that she was saying yes to all these organizations, all these committees, and she said, Jewel, I need to spend more time with my children. I said, well, now you just identified a core value. So you know what you need to do? You need to resign from some of these,
That's
from
right.
this busyness.
Yes.
That's right.
From this busyness.
That's what it is.
Right.
And I said, what are you afraid of? I said, you're afraid of disappointing them, aren't you? You're afraid of them trying to pull you back in. But I said, guess what? You're going to regret it. I said, I have one son in heaven and one on earth. And let me tell you, I would do anything to go back to that time when they were young and we could make a lot of memories. You're only going to have a short window to make memories with them before they become adults. So why don't you recognize that that's a core value, your children, quality time with them, and say no to all of that business, resign from some of those organizations.
Right.
And you could tell it made her a little bit uncomfortable, but she was able to realize, wait a minute, I just identified something here, and only I can make a decision to say I really do value them, because if I don't make the decision, then I'm saying I don't value them.
That's right. And you really are excellent at helping women break through. Like I said, I was at Jewel's retreat, and I needed a break, and I took that break. I had never been to her retreat, didn't know anything. I saw it on the internet. That's why I used the Facebook and those social medias for positive things, and it was amazing how these women had these breakthroughs. So you're so excellent at facilitating that, and I really loved it. I enjoyed it. It was an eye-opener for me as well, and you are just amazing, and I'm really happy to have you here to share those 10 vital tips, because they are so important. We have to have the clarity, the core values, the courage, the character, cultivate your skills, connections, consistency. I'm just repeating them. Making a contribution, being aware, and cooking, because we don't take care of our health. And we do start off the new year saying, oh, you know, I'm going to diet and do this. I've never dieted in my life because I really never thought about it. I just try and eat as healthy as I can. I don't like I had a guest on that said, well, you know what diet starts with? That word DIE. And I thought about that. And I said, I never thought about that. She said,
well, I thank you for the compliment, but I bet you your son Ken will tell you that everything I shared goes across the board.
Oh,
it's
of
for
course.
men and for women. It's a universal. It's just that I know that when it comes to branding myself and creating opportunities and experiences, I know that women gravitate to me, but it's very universal. It's across the board. And we're going to have men at my event this Saturday. We have lots of men that will be coming, couples, marriage couples, families, and we have some dynamic male speakers. We have the actor and director Bill Duke will be speaking.
Yes.
We have Andre Russell, who is the program manager for KJLH, Stevie Wonder's radio show. He also does Spread the Word. And then we have Pastor Ed Smith, who has planted 10 churches in Africa, Japan, all over. He has a huge church in Whittier, California, and he is also a life coach, and he certifies coaches. So Pastor Ed Smith will be speaking. And then we have G-Baby, who lives in Atlanta. She's a wonderful artist, and this is her first time speaking. And she actually said, Jewel, can I speak at your conference? And see, that took courage, because I said, know what? It's time for you to come from behind your products and let people know the story behind your beautiful art. And so she's excited about speaking this Saturday too. So I don't know if you'll be in town, if you'll be able to come, but I would love for
Jewel,
you and Ken
I
to come if you
have my tickets. I have 3 people coming to. Well, it's wonderful. 3 of us. I already have my ticket, and I was going to just ask you to elaborate on it. It's the Jewel Diamond Taylor 30th Annual Super Gold Saturday Conference.
Yes.
And I have my tickets. I have 3 tickets, in fact. I will be there. I'm glad it wasn't this past Saturday, because I had this baby shower and I wouldn't have been able to be there. But this Saturday, I got my tickets.
Wonderful.
I'm looking forward to it, and I love that commercial you did. And when you were speaking about Ken, Ken is very much into healthiness, and he has female clients that he does, because he can share what he just did. He did a milestone just before we went on a hiatus. Just share it real quickly, Ken, because we are pretty much close to out of time.
Well, real quick, I did a 30-day juice smoothie fast during the holidays of all times. I totally went against the grain and passed up all of the traditional holiday foods and festivities. And I participated in the festivities, but not so much in the food. And it makes a total difference. It's not for everyone, because some people may look at it as extreme. But again, when you get back to a place of nature and generating energy within yourself, health will bring all of these other 9 values of yours and heighten them by a factor of 10 when you have your health, because your mind will be much sharper at that point. Your brain will you'll have that clarity. You'll have that clarity. You'll be able to transmit a higher vibration of thought out into the universe, which means your return will be much greater. But again, the consistency is what counts when it comes to that. So I'm glad you have that as one of your 10 list of 10 here. Consistency, doing those right things long enough consistently until you achieve your results, because it doesn't happen overnight.
And that's why I'm so excited about what Ken does, because he's a certified nutritionist and the personal trainer. He's a psychology practitioner, and he produces my show. He's my announcer. He's just everything to me with this show, and I'm just excited that God has given him all these gifts and talents to do what he does and inspire people to do because of his passion and my passion, and I know how passionate you are. And tell the audience how to reach you, Jewel, because I know you are the Self-Esteem Doctor, and you are the encouragement whisperer. I love that part of it. And of course, keynote speaker, and you're celebrating your 30th anniversary this Saturday, and I will not miss it for the world. I'll be there. So tell us how to reach you.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you, Ken, for being such a great inspiration and a point of light. I look forward to meeting you one day.
Oh, absolutely.
I can be reached at my website, donotgiveup.net. donotgiveup.net. And on the website, they can register for the conference. They can sign up to receive my weekly newsletter that I send out online. I've been consistent in doing it for 12 years every week, and have thousands of people that receive my newsletter, so they can sign up for it at the website, or they can call me at 323-964-1736. If they'd like to invite me to come and speak at their conference, their college, their corporation, their church, their retreat, they can also call me, or they can email me. My email is jewel with one L at donotgiveup.net. The tickets are available online, or they can call me. We're offering lunch. We have entertainment. We have, it's just going to be a great day.
Yes,
we have several vendors, and it's going to be a highlight, and I'm looking forward to it. I feel so blessed, and I know that people are going to be touched in many different levels. It's such a positive energy, such a positive environment of love and fellowship, excitement and gratitude, expectation. Lots of people want to rock it in 2016, so I want to expose them to all types of stories and inspiration so that they can be successful and make touchdowns this year, because our metaphor that we're using, which we used for 30 years, is the football metaphor of, getting on the gridiron, and, you're going to take those hits, but you got to get focused, you got to get on the right team, got to get coached, and you got to make some touchdowns.
That's right. And make sure you have that heart and brain in sync. Because and by all means, get Jewel's book, and we're going to give you a final thought because we are pretty much out of time. Get her book, Success Gem. She has several books. I've read some of the this book, Success Gems. It's a great book, but I have read this book in its entirety, A Message of Hope and Encouragement. This one here, I've read the entire book. I mean, it's amazing. You should, by all means, get. And Jewel has several books. When you go to her website, or you will find all of her books and everything. So some final thoughts.
And we'll have them Saturday too.
Oh, great! The books will be there Saturday. Great. And by all means, go on her website. She just gave it to you. donotgiveup.net, and all the other information vital. So give us a final thought before we close, Jewel.
Well, my final thought would be to stay in the game. Don't allow any disappointments to discourage you. Stay in the game, stay focused, and review those things that are working for you, because you're certainly worth it. Anything is possible with faith and action.
Great final thoughts. And I've held the books up so you can see them one more time. Here's one of them here. As you can see, I love this book. It's not you don't have to read for a long time either. A Message of Hope and Encouragement. If you're feeling down and out, get that book. And I'm holding the other one up again, Success Gems. And thank you so much, Jewel, for being our special guest today. We really appreciate you spending your birthday with us today. And happy birthday again. And I'll be joining you on March 4th.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Thank you, Louise, and thank you, Ken.
Thank you so much. Jewel Diamond Taylor is our guest, and as we always go out,
your power lies within you. Let it loose. And see you next week.